Hello and welcome to day 4 of the Elegance Factor Master Your Money Mindset Challenge. So by now you've probably had a lot of feelings starting to come up around money. Once the cat's out of the bag, so to speak, it's very hard to get back in. So I'm sure that you've either had feelings of looking back at your money story and that coming up for you. You may have that real confrontation about the reality of your money situation. You may even be seeing this as joyful and fun, really great way to tap into that money mindset and, to spice things up and to get it going again. So whatever's happening for you, know that our Facebook page is there for you. We've already had a lot of women share their stories on the Facebook page and really share with us how this process, just over the last 3 days, has really conjured up some feelings for them and really brought light to their money story and what it means for them and how it's playing out for them in today. So I was talking to a client earlier today and we were talking about how she wanted to get more money into her business and was just frustrated that that wasn't happening for her. So we started by looking at the practicalities of, have you done your marketing? Have you been putting your packages and pricing out there? Those kind of things. And the answer was, well, no, not really. She hadn't been putting those out there. So we asked practically, well, why haven't you? Oh, well, this is not finished on the website. That's not finished. I'm not happy with that. And I might change the logo and all of this. And we started going to this world of like, hang on a second. There's a lot of procrastination going on. Now, procrastination is usually directly linked to perfectionism. Perfectionism is usually directly linked to a fear of failure. A fear of failure is usually directly linked to a lack of self-worth. All of these things actually then play out as a lack of money. So you're not going to go and rush out and be willing to receive money or even to ask money if you have a lack of self-worth. So for this particular client, we looked at where the lack of self-worth came from. So it was actually more important to go to the belief of lack of self-worth than it was to the belief about money. She was okay with the money thing, but it was over here in the lack of self-worth that was playing a factor in that today she wasn't able to ask for money. So we went back and had a look at her childhood. Now, it's not my role to be sharing her story here, but have a think about this for your story. For her, it was a story from her mother that she'd been laid down, that she, had this self-worth issue. So what we did is we actually went back to that. We looked at that issue there and put some healing modalities around that. I'll share with you tomorrow some of those, but I put some healing modalities around that to change that story right there at the core. That then will help her have more self-worth. It'll help her then have less of a fear of failure, which will then have less of a more of an ability to put herself out there, being vulnerable and with the fear of possibly being judged, but being okay with it. And by doing that, putting herself out there, she's more likely to bring money into her business. So this money story can stem from a whole range of things. But as we've said on day 1, your money story normally comes from your parents, your family, society, and so forth. So today's exercise is one that I personally have done a couple of times, and it has been very powerful for me. It has really brought up and shifted a lot of things about my money story. So to do this, I would recommend that you do this in a safe place, in a quiet, alone environment, somewhere that if you do need to get support, it's there for you. And now remember, our Facebook page is there, or send me an email to Genine@geninehoward.com. This activity can really bring up a lot of stuff, and that's a great thing. We want to bring it up. We want to have a look at the source of where this came from. So to do this, ideally to have a beautiful big sheet of clean butcher's paper and a big fat texter. If you don't have that, just an A4 piece of paper will be fine. What I want you to do is, when you're ready, is take a few deep breaths, and I want you to think about your money story, and I want you to think about the feelings that that money story gives you, and I want you to think about the first time that you felt those feelings. And you guessed it, I want you to draw it. I want you to draw out your money story, how it feels, what it looks like, you know, what is representative of your money story, and get it down on paper. This is not about writing it. This is about opening up that creative right brain channels and really tapping into the source of where that money story came from. Now, again, it's a very powerful exercise. If you're finding, however, that you're trying to conjure up this story and nothing's coming, call upon your higher self and ask it to demand that story to come forth. Demand that all of that visions of what that money story is for you, get it down on paper, get it out. The only way to be able to deal with this at the core is to get it out. I also encourage you that if you're a little bit like myself and have a tendency for perfectionism, this is not a work of art. You know, it's not going to hang on anyone's wall. This is not something out for display. This is for you and you alone, or you can share with me. And I want you to bring up that money story in a way that's authentic to you. It's not to be judged. It's not to be looked at. It's just a representation of all of the feelings that you're feeling about money and where that story came from. So you're welcome to pause the video and go and do it now if you're in a safe space. You know, if you're sitting at your work desk, perhaps you're still working full time, not a good idea to do it there because there may be tears and stuff, you know, and that's a good thing if there is tears, but you know, in your own space, go and do that. When you come back, I've actually got another activity for today's challenge. I'm piling it on because we've been peeling back the onion layers over the last couple of days, and you're now ready to really delve into this money story. Just before we finish up this section, I want to say that if you haven't watched days 1, 2, and 3, hold here, go back, watch those first. You know, I've purposely left this exercise to day 4 because we've been, you know, unraveling that money story, really getting you in touch with it and getting to a place where you can start allowing it to come up to be looked at. So go back to the start. Otherwise, if you're on day 4, go and do this exercise either now or sometime later in your own pace. And I'll see you in just a moment. So if you have gone and done that drawing exercise, you know, I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff going on for you. I would encourage you to go and take a break, take a breather, you know, go have a bath if you need to, have a lot of water, you know, really cleanse yourself of those feelings. And know that if you've gone and done that exercise, that, yeah, it's when you look at it and really get aware, that's where the healing starts. If you haven't, don't worry, go do it later. The last activity for today is one that we're actually going to use our left brains for, which is in writing. So we're going to write 2 letters. Now, know that I'm never asking you to do something I haven't done myself. And know that I'm never asking you to do anything that hasn't worked for me. This is specifically the things that have worked for me to master my money mindset. So 2 letters today. We're not going to pop them in the post, so don't worry. Again, this is for yourself and yourself alone. We're going to write a letter to Mum and to Dad. Mum and Dad. For each letter, I need you to write a full A4 sheet of paper from top to toe. The first 3/4, let it out. I want you to say to your parents what it is that you would always love to say to them, even if you're too scared to, about how they laid their money story on you. You know, what they basically did wrong to you, or what you feel that you did wrong, like that plays out today. I want you to go for this. You know, we're not mum and dad bashing, because remember, they did the very best that they knew how, but if we don't let it out, it stays inside, it churns inside. So, letter to Mum. 3/4 of the way down, you know, let her have it. Let her tell her everything. You know, maybe she wasn't part of your money story. Maybe she was actually the one that you aligned with the most. Maybe it was actually your dad. But for either of your parents, I want you to write the first part, you know, all of that stuff that you feel that you need to get out. Importantly though, the last section down there really needs to be about that they knew they were doing the best, that they were doing the best that they knew how. You know, I want you to thank them for being the parent that they were, to thank them that even if the money story bullshit that they laid on you represented today that you're not earning enough money, but no, now it's time to change that. So they did the best that they could do. Thank them that you're now got the awareness of that. I want you to really thank them for being there, the parent for you, even if they weren't really there. So know that that letter is really important for you to get out what you need to say to your parents about that money story. And the more that you get it out, the less it's within you. And you're able to heal that once it's out there. So I'm super excited about tomorrow. It's our last day of the money challenge, and I'm going to throw a whole heap of tools and strategies at you that I haven't thrown at you yet, of ways that you can heal your money mindset. Because I want to be clear, healing that or mastering that money mindset is not something that can necessarily happen overnight. I do also like to say there is a choice. You can make a choice right here, right now to change that. But usually it's an ever-evolving thing. So tomorrow, really excited. Make sure you don't miss out on it. Go away and do your letter to your parents. Draw out that money story. And remember to check in on Facebook page with the link down below and let us know anything that comes up for you. Okay, much love. See you tomorrow.